Okay, greetings and salutations, all. Welcome back to the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, 94 WIPs. Maybe I should put that in the title because I always forget to say it. 94 WIPs, Kyle Quinn, here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, which boy Matty B on the call, and of course joined by my very capable counterpart, Mr. Kyle Quinn. So we're here on the Birds Blast. We're going to talk about football eventually, but I cannot help myself. I cannot recuse myself. I gotta say it. Kyle Quinn, the A.J. Brown situation hit a different level. And, maybe there's some sort of good things to be said about A.J. because he actually came out and said it like a man. No cryptic tweets, no little puzzles left behind. But, Kyle, we reached the point with this. I think we are literally one step away from sit-ups in the driveway. What do you think?
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's going to escalate to that level. But I can't get with the whole, look, actions speak louder than words. And when he came out after the Super Bowl and said, the ring is one thing, I like winning, but I'm here to dominate. I make no mistake about it. AJ wants to be the reason they win. He wants to put up stats. No matter what he said yesterday, whether he said he cares about winning or not, I know what he cares the most about. And that's getting the football. It's been obvious from the jump, or from dating back to however many years since A.J. Brown's been having issues on the sidelines. It's now at least over 2.5, I would say, or I would say maybe 2 years now going that we see these sort of issues with A.J. Brown. And I don't buy the whole, that's what a leader says and stuff when he addressed what he said on the Twitch stream, which, by the way, I'm not sure if he knows this was public to everybody. He made it seem like I was in a safe space talking to my friend on Twitch. No, buddy, you were live streaming. That's how this works. It's about as much of a safe space as me and you talking right now. When this goes live, and if it's live right now, it's
live.
The same type of thing. So what he says was what he said, and he knew about the timing of when he said everything. It's just not something that a leader does. And I think we've convinced ourselves so much that, at least for a lot of people, that they like AJ Brown so much that what he does and what he says is the right thing to do. I don't believe that. I don't think that's true. I think it'd be insane if Jalen Hurts ever stepped up to the podium and said, AJ Brown's not getting open. Or if Saquon said the line's not opening holes for me, right? I didn't hear one time AJ in that entire 8 minutes that he spoke say one single thing that he could do better. Not one thing. Didn't take accountability for one thing. It was, they do this, they do that, they do this. They need a better job of getting me open, getting me touches, a lot of me, but nothing about things that he could do better. That bothers me so much. So the content of the message might be true, but the way that he went about it has been and still is completely ridiculous. And they can say whatever they want about in the locker room, that it's not affected them. It hasn't affected them yet. The fact of the matter is they are 7-2, but the offense still sucks, right? Is part of the reason the offense sucks because this stuff is in Jalen Hurts' head. How could it not be? How could AJ Brown and what he says every week, and being asked about AJ Brown every week, whether he looks at his Instagram or not, he knows what's being said because he has to get prepped to stand in front of the media. He knows what's being said. You can't convince me that that's completely out of his mind when he's out there during those 60 minutes on Sunday, Monday, whenever the hell it is. So I think it's a problem. It just hasn't cost them games yet. But make no mistake about it. It absolutely could. And it's a problem. And I'm over it.
Yeah. No, and Kyle, you mentioned the leader stuff. And honestly, and I'm being truthful with you, I forgot he was a leader. I forgot he was a captain. That totally escaped my mind. And that is not a leadership technique. Throwing your counterparts under the bus is not a leadership technique. And also the violation of that locker room. If you have problems, no one says you don't have problems, and there's going to be problems throughout the course of the season, but you address them with the people that you feel are causing the problems. As a man, you don't go outside of that sanctuary and you do that. You mentioned it's not necessarily a problem now, but what happens, and it could happen as soon as Sunday. The Eagles have only turned the football over 4 times all season long. And I think that's a jaded stat a little bit. I think it's a misleading stat because they don't take chances. The Eagles offense is about as humdrum as Richie Cunningham. All right. It is. there's no creativity to it. There's nothing to it. But if they start forcing the ball to AJ Brown, you're going to set yourself up for turnovers. Now, I know you've said it here on this program. You want to see more chances. I want to see more. You're right. I do want to see more chances down the field, but I don't want them to force the ball in just to shut him up.
Mm-hmm.
That could be definitely a part of the problem caused by this situation.
Yeah, and look, the reason that you can boil this down to AJ being selfish is that while the offense hasn't been great, we all agree with that. Devontae Smith's having a career year.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert's having a career year. And it's not the greatest Jalen Hurts season, but he's been fine. He's been good.
Yeah.
Right? Not great. But at least by his standards and based on what we saw last year, he's been fine. He had a perfect pass rating 2 weeks ago, and AJ Brown still went on Instagram afterwards and said stuff. So when AJ Brown starts to complain about getting the ball more, that means Devontae's getting the ball less. That means Goddard's getting the ball less. You can't convince me that these guys, if that does start to become the case, they're not going to start thinking, well, what the hell? I mean, Dallas Goedert's in a contract year. AJ Brown's already making his $30 million. Dallas Goedert's probably loving the fact that he's getting all these touches and that AJ's taking attention away. And Devontae's probably loving the fact that he's getting all these targets and he's having a great year, Devontae Smith is on pace to have a career year. So, yeah, I agree. The offense has not been good. There's a lot of different things that they need to fix, but you just cannot talk me into AJ is looking out for the team, the greater good. He's not. He's looking out for himself.
Yeah,
Point
and
blank.
that's never been in question. I agree with you. But let's sort of transition and talk about what has pissed AJ Brown off as much, or send him to this next level. Kyle, 10-7 victory over the Buccaneers, or Packers. Sorry,
Yeah.
Green Bay, Tampa Bay. You got it.
Yep.
One of the worst offensive performances I've seen from a football team in a long time, and it was Jalen Mason throws at the end of the game that got him where they needed to be, and I'll give Hurts a lot of credit for that. But it was the defense in this football game for the Eagles that really won the day for them. Jalen Phillips being the notable one. Yes, Green Bay's got a very good defense, but you are the defending Super Bowl champions, and you have all this alleged talent on this roster. Kyle, the offense is stale. It's stagnant. I'm not blaming Kevin Padula for it completely. It's Nick Sirianni. I don't think Kevin Padula was standing on the sidelines going, you know what? I'm going to piss off the millions of people watching just to piss them off. I'm going to run the ball right up the middle 85 times. So, that's what I'm here to do. I don't believe that. There's a reason why they're not going for any sort of creativity on offense. There's reasons around that. Could be the status of the offensive line. Could be trust in the quarterback. Could be a lot of different factors. But Kyle, how do you wrap your head around a 10-point effort on Monday Night Football?
Yeah,
after the bye week.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of more the same from the offense. I actually thought it was one of Hurts' worst games of the season, at least in terms of accuracy. One of the things that Hurts is usually pretty good at is that he completes a lot of passes. Now, we can all, we want to get into why. We know why. It's because they don't really take too many shots down the field. He's very conservative with it. But even then, he's not putting the ball on the numbers, right? He sailed Grant Calcaterra. He tried to throw 3 interceptions on that 1 3-and-out when he threw behind Dallas Goedert. He attempted to.
Yes, he did.
It was a bad Jalen Hurts game. I do now. I have to keep the same energy as before last week when we said going into the game, I don't need a style points win against Green Bay. It was a tough spot for the Eagles. And the Green Bay Packers, while I think an overrated and mediocre team,
absolutely,
a lot of that just has to do with the fact that Jordan Love is kind of mid. He stinks. Packers have a very good defense. So not excusing 10 points, but that was your typical old school defensive football game. A lot of mistakes on both sides. Eagles just made fewer, or maybe got a little bit luckier because I'm sure we're going to get into the harebrained decision at the end of the game, which I think almost made me choke. I almost didn't make it this week, man. I almost didn't make it today.
Oh wow!
Because I was recovering from
Sorry
choking.
to hear that. Sorry to hear that, Kyle. I don't want to see physical harm come to you, man.
Well, look, if Nick Sirianni decides to do the things that he did at the end of that game, then it's going to take a toll on him. I digress though. Yeah, not an inspiring offensive performance. The good thing is they didn't need it, and hopefully this is a sign of the defense starting to take a step in a good direction, and I think it is, given the way that the defensive line played. But the offense needs to be better. I can't explain what happened on offense any more than I could any other week. It's just it's a lot of the same nonsense, a lot of the same crap, and to make matters worse, the quarterback didn't play well.
Now, again, is it the offensive line has been sort of in the spotlight this season? They're dealing with a lot of problems with the injuries, and we're going to get in the injury report, and it's just about the entire offensive line, or majority of them, that are dinged up. How much do you credit the offensive struggles to the lackadaisical play of the offensive line?
I think that's a big part of it, especially in this game. And I do have to give Jalen Hurts credit here that Micah Parsons was in his face all night.
Yeah.
All night. And, we can do the screenshots like AJ said and look at guys that were open that he didn't see. But Parsons kicked Jordan Mailata's ass. I mean, he dominated Jordan Mailata. And Jordan Mailata didn't play well. He hasn't really had that good of a season. So, yeah, and I mean, the fact that the Eagles, no matter what they tell you, want to be a running football team, they haven't been able to be that this season. And I don't think it's because of Saquon. I think it's a lot because of the O-line. So, yeah, I don't think it's the entire issue. There's obviously a multitude of issues, but the offensive line is certainly one of them.
Now, the Eagles went out and addressed a lot of needs on the defense at the trade deadline. They did not address any of the offensive line issues or any of the depth issues along the tight end position or any of that stuff. And I'm circling back to this because it's November. Everybody's going to be dealing with injuries at this point of the season. That's just the way it works in the NFL. How much are you laying on Howie's feet for not having proper depth, at least up to this point, for the offensive line?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's an easy thing to say. Their Eagles are, I know we'll get to the injury report. They're probably the most, I think everybody that was available that's not on the IR practice today was eligible to practice. So, and the Eagles actually, to their credit, I don't know what they do, whether it's more Chip Kelly smoothie voodoo magic, but they're one of the healthier teams for a very long time now. And that's continued this season. I don't know if it's necessarily a depth problem in the offensive line. I just think the starters who are out there aren't playing well.
No, I think it's a depth problem, honestly. But, we'll save all that for a little bit later on. So let's now talk about the Green Bay Packer vaunted defense. I should say the Eagles defense, not the hell with the Packers. But Jalen Phillips, I know we're going to get into our game MVPs and who we selected. Yeah. But I'm going to put it out right now. You got to give it to him. I mean, he didn't necessarily light up the stat sheet. I think 6 tackles, but he did have a fumble recovery. But he was in the picture all night long, and he was in Jordan Love's ass all night long. And you definitely he probably was playing with a little extra adrenaline in that football game. But at least one game into his career as an Eagle seems to be a home run hit on that.
Yeah. He dominated, and he was. I think, I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg type thing. I also thought it was one of Jalen Carter's best games as an Eagle, getting his hands up, and he was pretty disruptive up the middle, and that could be. That could be a reason for Jalen Phillips getting one-on-ones and, vice versa, this and that. But it looks like a good mix now. And him and Nolan Smith did a good job passing off, lining up opposite sides and stuff like that. Nolan Smith continues to be just like one of the more violent edge rushers. But Jalen Phillips, man, what he added to that defensive line, that I can't go unnoticed. I would agree with you. He took over that game.
He did. And then, of course, we are going to address the Packer because you alluded to it, but the Packer offense. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's missing all his wide receivers. He was missing his starting tight end. But the last 3 games that I've now watched Jordan Love play against the Eagles, I am not impressed at all. This kid holds the football on too long. He makes very poor decisions leading the team. The sequence at the end of the game with the 4th and 2, when you have 2 timeouts and you rush up to the line of scrimmage, call a play. They don't get the first down. They get flagged for an illegal formation, and then they fumble the ball all in the same goddamn play. I mean, the floor, too, I think, is really overhyped as a head coach. I'm not impressed with him, not impressed with the Packers. I'm not concerned about the Packers going forward in this season.
No, and I always thought the Eagles matched up really well with the Packers in everything. Even their weaknesses sort of negate our weaknesses. We went into the season saying secondary not good. Guess what? Packers don't have the receivers to exploit them. And even though the Eagles' offensive line has been playing well, that the Packers' defensive line is a strength. And besides Micah Parsons, I thought they handled him pretty well. Hurts had a decent amount of time on a lot of those plays. Just to add to what you said about that play, not only did it get blown up and they had the illegal formation and the fumble and everything, Moro Ojomo is screaming right in Jordan Love's face. It's an inside zone this way. And Jordan
all you got to do is that, Jordan. All you got to do is that, and we kill the whole thing, man.
And he ran the play. So, God bless. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Just ridiculous. No, it seems like he has no feel for the game whatsoever. And he's just inaccurate. And I think, like you said, holds on to the football way too long.
He does, and he wasn't helped. The receivers that were out there, they did not help him. There was a lot of drop passes from the Packers, but that's part of the game. You got to overcome all that. Now let's get to that play. Fourth and even with all that, Eagles still did their damnedest to try to give that game away to the Packers. 4th and 8 was no 4th and 6. 4th and 6.
Yeah, 4th and 6. Yep.
That was the scenario. Now, yes, the rogue situation about the play deep down the AJ Brown. We'll get to that, but I want to take this chronologically. Kyle, I don't care that they went rogue. What the hell was the offense doing on the field? That wasn't Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown keeping the offense on the field. That was Nick Sirianni. What do you think was going through his mind?
That was the moment that I choked because they called a timeout, which means that you can't call a consecutive timeout.
Yep.
When I saw the offense on the field again, I'm like, well, I mean, they must just be running or trying to get a delay of game, give themselves 5 more yards, punt the football. Nope. And I can't even put that on Hurts and AJ, like you said, because Nick Sirianni just has to put the punt team out there. I mean, it made no sense. And I thought the most alarming part of the whole thing was after the game when Sirianni's asked about it in his press conference, he goes, we're not going to kick a field goal there or something. Nobody was saying kick a field goal, Nick. Punt the football. You're going to make them go 90 yards in 20 seconds after they had 7 points the entire game. What are you thinking? It made no sense whatsoever. And I thought it was admirable that he took up for Hurts and AJ and didn't air them out, that they went rogue and made this play and stuff. But the explanation from him was nonsense. He said, we did this in the Cleveland game last year. No, you didn't. That was 2nd down in Cleveland. This was 4th down when you had a chance to just pin them. Like, I don't.
And they had no timeouts. They had no timeouts.
Yeah, I don't know if he was on drugs before the game or what happened, but like that was diabolical. I mean, the man almost put me in a coma.
Now, let's talk about the rogue thing. If that was the rogue play, what do you think was the actual play? What do you think they were trying to do there? And you saw Sirianni, they kind of panned on, and he's walking up the sidelines with his head up in the air going, why? Or no, why, something like that. What do you think before rogue, in your football intellect, what do you think what was the play? What do you think the original play was?
So I don't know. And I have to assume that the play that they ran, like in totality, was the play that they ended up like that they snapped the ball with. I think what they changed was AJ's route, which is a very common thing. If Jalen and AJ see something, the way the defenders lined up, if it looks like they're taking away the slant, then you try to put it over the top. So I don't think it was crazy per se. It's not. I don't really have an issue with them doing that. My issue is they shouldn't have been on the field.
No.
Like I'm not going to drop that part of it. They should not have been on the field.
Trying to overcomplicate this, for God's sakes. There was 27, 30 seconds left. They did no timeouts. I'll take my chances down by, I'll take my chances with a punt. No, I agree. Last thing about this game I do want to bring up, and I never do this. I really don't, but I do have to bring it up tonight. The officiating in this football game was pretty poor on both sides, but I think it favored the Eagles more so than it favored the Packers. The tush push early in the game, where you had 3 of the Eagle offensive linemen literally in the defensive backfield before the goddamn ball was snapped, and you don't call that. I can forgive a lot of stuff because it's a penalty on every play. Kyle, do you think it's tush push specific? Do you think they just can't see down the line, the line judges, of what's going on because they're so tight in there? I'm not saying ban the play because of that. But you got to find a better way to officiate that play because it's criminal the way everybody's getting away with penalties on that.
Yeah, I don't buy it whatsoever, at least in terms of like the push part has nothing to do with them not catching guys lined up off sides. I mean, the Packers didn't even do the tush push. The Packers did the traditional quarterback sneak. Yeah. And they still went off sides or, jumped early. Both times got flagged for it the one time. I actually had a little bit of a conspiracy theory that that Matt LaFleur was coaching the Packers to go a little bit early. I think for a multitude of reasons. One, just to sort of put on the officials' lap, make them notice that, this is what's going on this play. And 2, if they don't call it, you get away with going early and you have the advantage on the play. And the only reason they didn't do that late in the game, poetic, by the way, that the Packers had a 4th and 1 situation to end the game and did not have an automatic play, in their back pocket to pull out. But that's one where you can't risk the 5 yards and the penalty being called, and that's why they did the inside zone that Moro Jomo sniffed out. But just a little bit of a harmless conspiracy theory there with the tush push play. But I don't think the push has anything to do with them not being able to see guys jump.
Now, but it was so obvious, that they were well offside. Then you got the Micah Parsons missed trip. I mean, that was obvious as hell.
Yeah.
And then the play down the field. I'm sorry, Quinyon Mitchell was riding piggyback on the receiver, and that was an obvious pass interference.
Yeah, I don't know. Kyle,
that wasn't ticky tack. That was a bad one. Come on.
I don't know about that. Quinyon is a pretty physical corner, and I think they made the point. I agree with this, that you're allowed to have your hands on them. You just can't prohibit them with your hands from making the catch. So, like, having his hand on his hip is legal. You can't turn the guy around, and you can't use it as leverage. So, like, I thought they got that right. That's one of the things. Quinn Mitchell was really, really good at that. And I think the officials get that correct more often than not when it comes to officiating Quinyon Mitchell's plays.
I'm aware that you can make contact, but there's no way to tell other than obvious force where he's pulled. But you can't sit here and tell me there was no like pushing and pulling going on. I get what you're saying, and it's you're never going to be able to tell that. But egregious officiating, I never go there on both sides of the ball. But Eagles fans should be feeling pretty happy about the way it sort of worked out for the Birds.
Yeah, but the trip, like,
that was bad.
I mean, Saquon's. That's a house call for Saquon.
Yeah.
If you look at the zoomed out, like the eagle eye view, if he gets by Parsons, he's past the line. No one's catching him. And it was one of the most blatant trips you'll ever see.
It's like so throwing your hockey stick during a breakaway. Like,
I'm
going to try to stop him that way. No, I agree. All right, all that 10-7. Eagles do get the win. 7-2 now. Little Birds blast stat pack. 0 for 1 in the red zone. Kyle, one trip all night long to the red zone. Not surprising the way the offense operated. 17 for 21 now on the season for about 81%. Points, first half. This is an easy one. 0. Second half, 10. Kyle, we're starting to trend down on both halves. 124 first half points. Now 14 points on average for first half. Second half, 94 points. Kyle Quinn. 10 points per average per game. The Eagles are averaging in second halves. We mentioned the offense's stagnancy, stale, conservativeness, blandness, vanillaness. I know you don't necessarily read much stock into this stat that I put up every week for every season, but there is something to this, Kyle. We are 9 weeks into this season, and this football team averages 10 points in the second half. That's either they're not finishing because they're not blowing people out. It ain't like in years past where they're up 48-10 heading into the third quarter. They're struggling to get points, and more so in the second half.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a half thing. I think it's just an indicator of the offense being, like you said, poor, stagnant all season long. 0 in the first to 10 in the second half is actually an improvement, albeit a very minor one. So if you do want to give them credit for one thing, it does look like that they were at least able to adjust to some of the things that they saw by the Packers defensively. But how many did they average against the Giants in the second half? Because I don't know if 1 week necessarily is enough to qualify as trending downwards. It was a bad week, but
they scored 17 against the Giants in the second.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, look, it's 17-10. Sure, they went from 17 to 10, but if they go next week and they score 7 in the second half or something, and and it's in a scenario where they need it, right? Not where they're blowing at somebody out and pulling ahead, stuff like that. Then then we can start to look at it as a trend. But yeah, that was it's a defensive game the whole time. Like both teams were not able to really score or move down the field at all. And when we did on the first drive, which I thought was the best drive of the game and one of the best drives of the season, quarterback fumbles the football. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. 7 penalties committed in this football game for 61 yards. 61 penalties now on the season for about 7 a game. 447 yards for about 50 yards a game. 7 penalties for 50 yards a game. Kyle, we are in crunch time of the season. We every yard counts. They haven't won anything, maybe with the exception of the NFC East. But now it's about seeding and getting in the best position you can. Every game still counts, and every game is still important. 7 penalties and 50 yards a game is not comfortable for me with this football team. Why are we still talking about massive amounts of penalties from this team?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, they're just not as disciplined as they were last season. Like I said, a lot of young players in there. I'm curious to where they stack up in terms of the rest of the league. I don't know if you
Yeah.
have that
No,
data,
I don't
but
have that pulled up. But I'll start
okay.
looking at that. I will.
But yeah, like I agree. I mean, that's something that could bite you. I just think the important thing right now is you said it's crunch time of the season, but they're racking up wins against NFC opponents and NFC playoff opponents. It's very important, very important. So, like I said, didn't need a style points win. Would have liked it to look a little bit better, but I'm going to be firm in that I just need to get out of Lambeau on Monday night with a win.
Well, we're going to definitely attack the style point win narrative here in a little bit. Maybe our question of the week might have something to do with that. I don't know. I'm just saying. Eagles did force 2 turnovers. Kyle got back on the plus side there, won the turnover battle. 9 turnovers now on the season for that forced, so won a game. Also, I'm not great, but let's start. They committed one. They did turn the ball over one time. That's 4 now on the year, as I said earlier. But that's a misleading stat, Kyle. I really believe that's a misleading stat because of the way the offense operates. And I'm not saying that I'd be upset if it went a different way, because that might mean they're taking more chances down the field. I don't know. Where do you come out on that? Are you happy with the 4 turnovers? Are you like, well, that's a product of their offense? How are you able to accept the potential of more turnovers for a more creative offense? Where do you come out on that?
Yeah, look, I've always said, if it was like I could live with a turnover in a game, like it was this week. But that's if it's because they're a little less risk averse. You do have to give the Eagles ball carriers credit. They're not putting the ball on the ground, right? And there is the conservative offense like byproduct aspect to it. They did win a Super Bowl that way last season. I mean, their hallmark was create turnovers and create more than you let up, right? So as long as they stay on the plus side, then it's okay. But they have to continue to stay on the plus side. That's not a guarantee, though. So, but you do live with 4 turnovers. The low turnover numbers is probably the one thing you can hang your hat on and say the Eagles do that is elite this season.
The Eagles sacks allowed. Jalen walked away clean in this game on Monday night. 25 sacks still allowed by this team. Still around 3 a game. But that's never, and it's funny because you can go back to the offensive line and their struggles, but he's been relatively untouched. I mean, 25 is a little high, but I'm okay 9 games in with that. 2.7 a game. And it's only been for about 12 yards on average a game they've lost from sacks. So I can live with that. And what makes this even more puzzling about where the problems are, again, is it all about offensive scheme?
Yeah, like I said, I think the offensive line thing is a problem in the run game. They haven't been a sieve in terms of they're letting guys in Jalen's lap and in his face all the time. Micah Parsons was, but Jalen Hurts was pretty good Monday and feeling that kind of pressure. The biggest thing with the line is I think they're not necessarily gelling in terms of opening things up for Saquon Barkley. And a lot of the stuff has just been like, those stupid mistakes, like a lot of tripping and falling on a pull block, So they got to get that cleaned up. I do still have faith that they can, especially if these guys can, stop going in and out of the game, which I don't know if I can count on that, but you just kind of got to hope that gets cleaned up a little bit.
Before we continue, we got a comment here. Doughboy chimes in with, as an Eagles fan, A.J. Brown was right about the predictability in the conservative offense. KP needs to use A.J. Brown in the slot or move him around like we do Smitty. Interesting point. A.J. barely ever moves anywhere. There's no motion involving him. He lines up on the outside consistently. There's some merit to this statement. Should the Eagles start being more creative with A.J. Brown? I get it. Seems like every time he lines up on man, they don't necessarily throw him. Man is what they want, right? But nobody goes and plays AJ man. It's always zone, and that's where the problems seem.
Yeah.
So, do you think they should get more creative with moving him around on the line?
Well, yeah, but that's easy to say, right? And I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's a matter of them getting more creative, using him in this way or that way. Like, the defense they get is the defense they're going to get, right? If they cloud AJ Brown, like he was saying, then that's something that they're just going to have to deal with. AJ's going to have to find a way to get open, or Hurts is going to have to zip the ball in there. And whether or not AJ Brown was right, to me, like, did AJ break any news to you about the offense?
No.
So I don't care. I don't care if he's right. Like, you just don't come out and put it out there like that. I'm sorry.
You don't, and that's again. If you can bicker and moan all you want behind the closed doors, right? That's what that's for. It's a sanctuary, and again, there's a level of trust that I know if I was in there, I'd be like, this dude don't got my back, man. He's out there airing out our dirty laundry. I mean, the rest of the world knows we're struggling offensively. You don't need to go out there and pour kerosene on that fire, dude. If you got a problem, man, let's address it in here. Now, kind of going back to the Doughboy comment. This world-class culture that Nick Sirianni allegedly brought here, this world-class class of an organization that Jeff Lurie has created. Obviously, A.J. Brown feels empowered to take his business outside the locker room, regardless of whether or not this is A.J.'s way or not. He still feels either limited repercussions or no repercussions for airing his business out there. What does that tell you about what Nick Sirianni's doing behind closed doors?
It tells me more about A.J. than anything, because every other instance of this is behind closed doors. I mean, the only reason we got that meeting from the O-line last year when they had to knock on Sirianni's door during the bye week was because somebody reported on it. It's solely, to me, an A.J. problem. Nobody else is doing this. Hurts is always talking about the collective, to his credit. The offensive lineman is talking about things they need to do to get better. Saquon talks about things I need to do to be better. Everybody seems to be able to do that, but A.J. Brown. Is that not true? So, like, I don't know if it's this. And by the way, you know who signed up for all this? A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
The man signed a contract extension. Did he think that we were going to have a different quarterback than Jalen Hurts? Did he think that we were going to all of a sudden bring in an offensive genius as a head coach and start calling plays? He signed up for this. That's why this whole thing bothers me.
Yeah, but you're right. But the Eagles did sort of dangle the worm out there and be like, hey, we're going to give you this to stay here, or we're going to trade for you from Tennessee because we want you. I'm not resolving Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman for getting into bed with somebody that they knew there was a certain way and now complaining about it. And I'm not saying they're complaining. Now, Nick got a little contentious during that press conference yesterday as he's getting a little frustrated. But again, but no, I do, because he is partly responsible for this problem. He's whatever he is, head coach, CEO, whatever he calls him. He's the guy on the sidelines. It's his team, Kyle.
I know, but I don't agree. There's only so much you can do, right? Like, I mean, A.J. Brown is who he is, and granted, you know, the signing thing. If you want to point to your boy Howie Roseman for signing on, then sure, go do that.
Yeah, of course I'm going to blame Howie for it. Yeah,
right. I know y'all
and Jeffrey, the whole menage.
I understand, but like AJ is also, you know, he's a grown man, whether or not he acts like it or not. There's only so much Nick Sirianni can do, and if I'm him, of course I'm getting frustrated. If my girlfriend is all of a sudden tweeting cryptic things about me and her relationship, and then next time I go to a party and all my friends keep asking me about it, am I going to get mad at my friends, or eventually am I going to turn to my girlfriend and be like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting way to go with it. Yeah, I agree with you. That's a good one, Kyle. That's why you're here, man. But no, I get it. I do get it. Eagles offensive problems. They need to improve their play calling and execution by running the ball more effectively, reducing negative plays, and becoming less predictable in formation. Yeah, we kind of went over that. Why are they not? Yeah, breaking news. So right now, if the season sort of the pace that Saquon is setting, he's going to finish with just over 1,000 yards rushing. Just over about 1,080 is what his pace is right now. Of course, far cry from the 2,200 he had last year and the 2,500 all-purpose, and nobody expected that to repeat itself. I didn't expect that, but I surely didn't expect him only to have 1,000. To say, you mentioned it a little bit with Saquon. You don't necessarily think it's him. It is. I agree. I think the offensive line and their health is a lot of the reason why we can't get the rushing attack going. But I said it since week one. If he cannot replicate or have a close to similar season, I was concerned about the way this offense was going to produce, and it's unfortunately sort of worked out that way.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily agree with play calling. Yeah, play calling's been vanilla, but again, Doughboy, why are they calling plays like this? It's not to piss you off. It's not to piss me off. There's a reason that the plays are the way they are, and it could be the health of the offense, the trustability in the quarterback, or a multitude of other reasons. So
yeah,
he's stating the obvious.
And I you just like, I can't be convinced that Sirianni and Kevin Patullo don't understand that they need less negative plays, fewer negative
I
plays.
think they understand.
Right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
like if it was that easy, like man, just write in the notepad, no more negative plays, only move the ball forward. Forward.
Yes. No, we're stating the obvious. What I want to know is what's the fix? I mean, that's the real question. Well, how you fix it, and can they fix it?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they can. Not right now. Yeah. Oh, it says Nick Sirianni hired KP. Listen, Doughboy, I thank you, by the way. I've never seen you here before, so make sure you hit the like and share, subscribe, and please continue to contribute. And he liked your little thing too with the girlfriend. I think that was very funny. But anyway, I think you're right. He did hire KP, but don't forget, this is not like new offensive coordinators again are not necessarily something this team is not used to. We can go back throughout the last 3 seasons and go over each of the new offensive coordinators that were here, and they all had different sort of results, but similar results, with the exception of one, Kellen Moore. And why? Because they went to a run-heavy attack, and Saquon did what he did.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the obvious reason. The
Right.
offense has been the same the entire time, regardless of who the coordinator was, Kyle.
Yeah, and like Nick Sirianni didn't come hire Kevin Patullo off the planet Venus in the offseason. Like, this dude was our pass game coordinator last year, running the same passing attack that I was told made Jalen Hurts the greatest thing since sliced bread last season. Just people are surprised that all of a sudden, without the crutch of the running game, that they're like, what the hell is this? Well, I was thinking the same exact thing last season. It sucked. The passing game sucked. It still sucks. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, and it hasn't changed since. And again, I'm going to conjure 2023 up a little bit later on in the show. But so Jalen walked away clean in this game. The defense did get to Jordan Love 3 times for 9 yards. One last time about Jordan Love. Is it wrong of me to say that he could be out of the league in 3 years?
Out of the league in terms of what is a starter?
Yeah, well, yeah, like Carson Wentz type thing. Year to year backup.
Yeah, he's going to continue to get shots. I don't, the Packers are one of those organizations though that, we talk about the Eagles and how they don't sit on their hands. The Packers do sit on their hands.
No, they do.
They might be stubborn and try to keep this thing rolling.
They do. Eagles were over 2 on 4th downs, now 11 for 16 on the season. That's one of the all-time lowest percentages that the Eagles have had in years. Less than 69% effective on 4th downs. Kyle, the earth has stopped spinning. 10-7, got the win. Pivotal win, yes, in Lambeau. But now we don't have time because you wanted it. We all wanted it. Now we got it. Sunday night at the Link, the Detroit Lions arrive, which has the makings of this is NFC Championship game preview, the NFC Championship game we never got last year. You fill in what you want here. Before we start breaking this thing down a little bit with the Lions, Kyle, 6-3, battle for the battle for the first overall seed now will really heat up at the Link. What do you see? I mean, there's going to be so many things to talk about in this game. When we get there. What do you see on Sunday Night Football?
Well, I think it's probably, in a schedule versus a lot of tough opponents, this could be their toughest test yet. I know the lines have been a little bit up and down this season, and there's weird stuff going on with Dan Campbell taking over play calling and stuff. They're going to be tough, and I'm sure that they had us circled ever since they didn't get a chance to see us in the NFC Championship game last year, being decimated by injury and stuff. Their defense is healthier now this season, and their offense, it looks like it's picked up right where they left off. So this is going to be probably maybe one of the toughest tests for Vic Fangio, another really tough test for the Eagles offense, and just tough test for the Eagles in general. Like you said, another team at the top of the NFC. So this one's this is that NFL couldn't have asked for a better Sunday Night Football matchup, I can tell you that much.
No, and we're going to have 57 degrees of a high and a low 38, so maybe game time temperature in the 40s, partly cloudy with about 11% chance of some sort of moisture in the air. So that's pretty much the seasonable late-ish November football game. The Gridiron database is reporting that the Lions are going all white. They're wearing their Wentz whites, and the Eagles are going with the white top or the midnight green tops and the white bottoms. You paint your own connections there. I've been wrong all season, honestly. So is the Gridiron database. So whatever. I don't know.
Yep,
They put this TBA. So every week it seems like it's a hit or miss thing with this database. You know, some weeks it's locked in. Most weeks it's the uniform with a TBA right underneath of it. So you don't know. And but that's what they're saying this week.
The Eagles at least did announce green tops by bottoms just to help you.
Okay, so they got it right. So that would probably put the Lions in their wind sweats, or maybe not. Maybe it puts them in their silver bottoms and whatever. But they're wearing white tops. I can tell you that much. Let's get into the injury report. I got yesterday's. I don't have today's, but the big story of the injury report has got to be the beleaguered offensive line. Limited participants in Wednesday's practice were Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, and Tyler Steen. But before we start dissecting the offensive line's injury woes, big shout out to Lane Johnson, who after that shot to the knee/ankle, I mean, I thought his career was over. I honestly thought that was it. I mean, that looked terrible, and he came back in the second half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
and he looked ridiculous riding out on that cart, by the way.
Yeah, he did. That's probably why he wanted to walk off the field.
Yeah.
You don't want anybody seeing him on that thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the offensive line, Kyle. Cam Jurgens has not played since week 7, but he was back sort of in a limited role. You know, do you see any changes significantly for any of the walking wounded with this offensive line? I mean, or it's just sort of status quo week to week right at this point?
Well, you know, I'm going to keep my eye on Cam Jurgens, not whether or not he plays, but if he does play, what does he look like? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. And I know we were all cursing Brett Toth when he came in at guard. Been fine at center. Been fine.
Yeah.
I don't remember saying Brett Toth's name any of the past 2 weeks at all. I do remember swearing off Cam Jurgens for a little bit beginning of the season. He hasn't had a good year, so that's going to be one that I'm interested to watch. Yeah,
me too. And you're right. Toth was not really good as a guard, but he seems to have found his niche as a center. Full participants in practice were Cal Dornantitis. I don't even know who this guy is. Long snapper. Jacorian Bennett has been reactivated. He was a full participant. Darius Cooper, Willie Lampkin, and Nolan Smith, who continues to battle his way back, who played pretty well on Sunday. For the Lions, this is an interesting one. Did not participate. Terrion Arnold, dealing with a concussion. And then the big one, Aiden Hutchinson, dinged up the elbow last week in the Commanders game. Kirby Joseph, Sam Laporta, Penny Sewell, Simone Vayak, and Brock Wright all did not participate for the Lions. This is massive here. I mean, we're not talking about third stringers. We're talking about very important members, especially Hutchinson, to that Lion team.
Yeah, and I do believe Hutchinson came back to practice today and told reporters that he's going to play.
Okay.
Penny Sewell, I also believe practice, and I would have to assume that he's going to play. Laporta, I believe, was out again. That'll be a pretty big one for them too. But at least in terms of those two big names on offense and defense, Hutchinson and Penny Sewell, it looks to me like they're going to play. Those are big ones for them.
All right, and then Terrion Arnold's a big one too, especially for the Eagles wide receivers. But injury report, Kyle, again, I told you this, and we can agree that we're at the point of the season where there's no one's going to have a clean one. I know the Eagles have had pretty clean injury reports in last season. Specifically at this time, they were pretty good. A little bit different this year, but do you see injuries, kind of tilting the balance here?
Not in this game necessarily, but I mean, and definitely in terms of down the stretch of the season, it's, a lot of times it's last team standing. I mean, look, you can take the Lions, for example, last season. They were 15-win team, number one seed, and they just lost everybody. So they ended up getting upset for the first time by a rookie quarterback in the 6th seed. So it's definitely going to matter down the stretch.
You're right. Let's talk some matchups. Kyle, Quinn, give me three key matchups that you've seen in this game, separate from the Eagles' keys to victory.
Yep. So big matchups here is going to be the Eagles' defensive line versus the Lions' offensive line. Penny Sewell is maybe the best tackle in the league, one of them at least. I'm not going to expect Jalen Phillips to dominate like he did the week before, but the Lions have a weak interior offensive line. So maybe if they have to devote extra attention to Penny Sewell, or if they devote extra attention to Jalen Carter, then one of those guys can start to get through. That's going to be very important to see if they can get through to Jared Goff. The other one is going to be, and we'll see how much this matters. The secondary, I think, got a big boost just because of the fact that the defensive line played so well last week. But I mean, man, the Lions, They have some really tough playmakers. I don't know about Laporta, whether he's going to play or not, but Jahmyr Gibbs, he's a problem out of the backfield. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, like they have guys and they scheme those guys open. So it's not only up to the Eagles secondary, but it's up to the Eagles back seven, I should say, to really get a handle on that thing and not let the Lions just drive up and down the field. And the other one, I'm going to go on the sidelines a little bit here. Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell. And I'll tell you why. Nick Sirianni, for some reason, has lost his way. I don't know if it's a trust issue, but he has been snipped of his cojones for some reason. They're doing the coward's draws on 3rd and long. They're not going for it as many times on 4th down this season. You know who's balls to the wall with that stuff? Dan Campbell. He loves going for it on 4th down. He loves being super aggressive. Sirianni needs to match Dan Campbell's aggressiveness this week if they're going to want to keep pace. If this is a close game, then that's going to be one of those things that I think could be a huge difference in this game. Is Nick Sirianni willing to match Dan Campbell's aggressiveness this week?
You know, the coward's draw. The Eagles are one of the league leaders in that 3rd and long draw play stat this year. But some of the other leaders, I guess, are playoff teams as well. Kyle, I don't care. You know, if I'm going down swinging. You know, I'm 3rd and 12. What the hell am I doing handing the ball? You're quitting. I mean, you're throwing it down away.
Yep.
That's ridiculous, Kyle.
I agree. And like, I mean, it's, you know, you can almost talk me into it a little bit when you're going up against one of the better defense in football like Green Bay was.
Yeah.
But not this week. I mean, this week they can't be doing that, man. Like when you're, and I think part of that is the source of AJ's frustration is that they just give up. They have all these killers on offense and they're just like on 3rd. And if it's 3rd and 8 or longer, they're like, well, that's that.
Punt.
Drive over.
Punt.
I don't understand it. I hate it.
No, I do too. You also mentioned the weapons on the Lions. David Montgomery, you got to throw him in there too. They can come at you all different ways.
Yep.
My matchups to look at: Eagles front four versus the very immobile Jared Goff. But what Jared Goff does do is he gets the ball out fast, and they're going to have to be careful of that. They're going to get to him if he lets them to, but they're going to have to either contain their pursuit and be very kind of not conservative with it, but very smart with their pursuit of Jared Goff. Because if they do give Jared Goff a lane, he'll take it. I mean, he's not afraid to run, but he's not a running quarterback. So I want to see how that works with Goff. And, you know, A.J. Brown versus not only himself in this game, but also the home crowd. Kyle, we have a tendency in this town, and I don't know if you might have heard this, but we take things pretty seriously and maybe at times blow things out of proportion. And if things do start to not necessarily go south, but if he's not getting the ball and he starts feeding off what energy that he might be getting from the crowd and he's giving it back, this could get into a circus-like atmosphere, Kyle. We don't need that. The team doesn't need that. We don't need the publicity of that, Kyle Quinn.
Yeah. And I'm not worried about it being specific to A.J. Brown. I can see now if the offense is going 3 and out for 3 straight times, the boos are going to be raining down. And that's going to be to everybody. So,
and Nick Sirianni's shown it in the past. He'll engage the fans as he's running off the field.
Yep.
My number one key matchup, and this was a question I was going to save, but you know what? Let's bring it out now. And it's a matchup because I don't know the answer, and I know this sounds weird, and I'm hoping that you can provide some clarity to it. We are 9 games into the season, Kyle Quinn. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. Can you tell me what the Eagles' offensive identity is?
Nope.
Okay, that's a problem.
It's don't give the football up is what it is.
That's a problem that we can't sit here and say this is what their identity is as a team 9 games in, and I fear for that, Kyle Quinn. I really do.
I mean, I agree with you, and I think they all know that. Like they haven't been able to find a niche either way.
Yeah. And with that being said, Kyle Quinn, what are your 3 keys to Eagle victory?
Yeah, so I'll jump off of my last key matchup there, and that's be aggressive. Like you have to start going for it on 4th downs when you're in opposing territory. You have to stop at the coward's draws. The Lions, you know, I know our defense played really well this week. This is going to be tough. Like the Lions might put up some points here. So the Eagles have to be prepared to match that. And that might mean trying to squeeze out an extra drop out of a drive that you might previously have given up on. So they need to be able to extend drives. And that's going to probably mean be a little bit extra aggressive than you have been this season. The other one is, and you mentioned this a little bit with the Jared Goff thing. Jared Goff is a good quarterback, but he's a very much a rhythm passer.
Yeah.
And he does not do well. He'll tend to cough up the football if you got guys in his face. So I don't know if that's going to be just rushing for, or if Vic's going to be able to, if Vic needs to get creative in sending guys and get them in Jared Goff's face. But they need to find a way to get Jared Goff off his spot, make him uncomfortable, and then maybe see if you can force a turnover. The other one is be strong up the middle, or with the linebackers and whoever else needs to come down, and not let Detroit Lions gain those 5-6 yard chunks easily by running the football. Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery is probably the best 1-2 duo in football. It has been for a while now. They both provide different things to the offense. And Vic Fangio and the Eagles need to have a plan to stop that, and need to be able to execute that plan, or it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, and my third key to Eagle victory is the one you just kind of talked about, alluded to a couple seconds ago. Yeah, you got to keep Goff uncomfortable. As you said, he's a rhythm passer, but if you let him get in the rhythm, he's going to get into that, so you can't allow that to happen. Balance, Kyle Quinn. It's something we have not seen all season, and it goes everywhere from point scoring to moving the football. 0 for 1 in the one trip to the red zone. Come on, man. I mean, that's not going to work for me. They've only been in the red zone 21 times in 9 games this year. That is a problem. You need to find a way to balance this offensive attack. Give the defense some time to actually catch their breath, chew up some clock. That first drive against the Packers, where they held the ball for like 9 minutes, was amazing, but we don't see that consistently at all. And then my number one key to Eagles victory is, going off of my number one matchup, is maybe we can establish an offensive identity in week 10.
Yeah. It feels like a tough ask going 10 weeks into the season and say, well, there it is. There's our identity. So I have no idea what this football team is. I don't think they do either.
Neither do I. All right. With that, again, we're good. Now let's go. I didn't even ask you this. So me and Kyle had the Eagles beating the Packers. I did not. I had the Packers beating the Eagles. So obviously Kyle got it and I did not. Kyle's now 5-4. I am 4-5. Kyle went with Saquon as his game MVP. I went with Jordan Love. Neither one of us hit there, and I think we already said that we're going to give it to Jalen Phillips. He deserves it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure does. Yep.
All right. So Kyle, give me your score, your prediction, your score, and your game MVP.
Jeez, man. And this is one of the most, I've had games where I'm like, Eagles are going to win for sure. I've also had games this season where I'm pretty sure the Eagles are going to lose this one. I have no freaking idea what's going to happen at this one. No idea, because I don't know which version of either team we're going to get on Sunday. So I'm going to fall back on what the Eagles have just found ways to do for a long time now, and that's win another football game, even though I think it's going to be hairy. I'll go 24-21, and man, game MVP. I'd like to think that they come out and feed AJ. I just don't see that happening. I'm going to go with another Devontae Smith day, baby.
Yeah, it's a good call there. I like that. Devontae Smith. Yeah, and then of course we'll let the drama of next week play out when AJ gets 2 more targets or whatever. Yeah, I'm going 28-21 Detroit. Yeah. And I'll tell you in a minute why. But I'm going 28-21 Detroit, and I think St. Brown has a big day. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see a St. Brown Quinn thing going, right? I mean, they're not going to try not to put him on that. I mean, anything you got?
Lions are pretty good at getting those matchups, man.
Yeah, they might try to get away from that. All right.
Yep.
All right. So I'm on St. Brown, and you got Devontae Smith. Let's get into our question of the week. And yes, there's a reason why I am going with the Lions, and I'm about to reveal it in the question of the week. This is the part of the show where I like to kind of make Kyle Quinn think, and I give him the best question that I can come up with. I locked myself in a room for 5 days in order to come up with this question. And here we go. Kyle.
I know where you're going with this, by the way.
I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You've been on me all season about, sort of regurgitating 2023. And, we kind of got away from it for about 4 weeks because it seemed like things were regulating a little bit, even though they lost a couple of games, but they won some games. And they were winning them. The Giants game was probably the cleanest game, or the most complete game. I wouldn't say cleanest, but the most complete game they played all year. So I kind of got away from it. But now with the A.J. Brown stuff, the rogue stuff, and more importantly, Kyle Quinn, with a similar situation like in 2023, where the 2 perennial teams in the NFC, the Eagles and the Niners at that time,
I knew it.
met at the link for, at that point, supremacy in the NFC. Now, we all know the Eagles got slapped in the face, embarrassed. Dom gets thrown out of the game for assaulting players. And it, of course, led to the epic collapse of 2023. And here we are back in 2025 with everything else that we've talked about that happened in 2023. Here we go. We got the perennial teams in the NFC once again going up against each other at the link. This time it's the Lions. This time it's in late November, not early December.
Yeah.
But it's eerily similar, Kyle Quinn. The only thing left to talk about in 2023 is the actual collapse. Mm-hmm. And that's where we've sort of brought ourselves to. Kyle, are you ready to give any sort of credence to the 2023 theory about all of these events that are sort of mirroring each other right now?
So, no, but if they get smacked around by the Lions, then yes. And I'll give you another parallel here, Matt. The week after they played the Niners that year, Dallas. They played the Cowboys.
Yep.
You know,
and they got Dallas next week.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
But so look, I'll tell you this, and here's where I sort of agree with you. I told you I had no idea what the hell was going to happen on Sunday. There's one outcome that I think I don't see at all, and that's the Eagles crapping on the Lions. I see a close Eagles win. I see a close Lions win, or I see the Eagles getting their, what's kicked in. So, I do agree that there's a little bit of a parallel. We'll see. I mean, we will see. But I don't think you're crazy. I'll give it to you though. If that does happen, I'll check in on Thursday and I'll give you the 2023. How about that?
That's all I can ask for. A little validation. A little like, hey, attaboy, you called it. You know what you're talking about. You're not a complete crackpot. That's all I ask for.
Not complete. Not complete.
All right, Kyle, before I let you go, man, where can the people find you out there?
Yep. Every Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on the Midday Show with you and Joe. And then on Twitter @_Kyle_Quinn.
All right, Kyle Quinn, my main man. We'll be back next week. We'll be breaking this thing down, talking Dallas week next week. But till we talk again, brother, we'll see you next week.
All right, Matt. Thanks, dude. Have a good one.
All right. Kyle Quinn, my man. That was a good show. Yeah. Again, do you not see, and when I say you, the people, the assembled, the parallels to 2023, am I completely off my res on this? I mean, the win is a win nonsense we heard all throughout that 10-1 start, that we're hearing all throughout this 7-2 start, right? The A.J. Brown drama, which happened in 2023, the rogue stuff that went down in 2023, and then now we are faced with a situation very similar to the one that happened in 2023 with the 49ers and having the Lions now as replacing the Niners in that equation. And as Kyle mentioned, next week, just like in 2023, it was the Cowboys that were our next opponents, which led to the collapse. The 49er game led to the collapse. But I don't know, man. I think I'm validated here. I think I'm onto something. And it just happens the stars are aligning for me. And I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, I really do. Hope I'm wrong and they're all back next year. Yeah, we don't make any changes. All right, so we've reached the point of the show where we go into Matty B's picks. Week 11 now. I keep on forgetting we had the bye week. Week 11, sorry. But before I do, I'm going to reveal that I was 9-4 in week 10. So 9-4 in week 10. So for the season now, I'm 96-49. That's pretty damn good. 4 wins off of 100, and we're only in week 11. So here's my picks for the week. This week, of course, I am going with the Lions to beat the Eagles at home. On Thursday tonight, I got the Jets and Patriots. Give me the Patriots. Washington and Miami, another game somewhere not in the United States on Sunday morning. Give me Miami. I'm picking Miami to win. I am. I'm picking the Miami Dolphins to beat the Commanders. Their season's over. Carolina versus Atlanta. Give me Atlanta. Tampa and Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to get their revenge and seek it against the Buccaneers. And Texas versus the Texans versus Titans. Give me the Texans. The Bears against Minnesota. I like Minnesota. Green Bay and the Giants. As much as I think as overrated as the Packers are, and as mid as Jordan Love is, I still think they're better than the Giants, who are now, of course, without a head coach. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Give me Pittsburgh. The Chargers versus the Jags. Give me the Chargers. Seattle and the Rams. Give me the Rams. And another key matchup this weekend. So the NFC might look a little different come Monday with these games. Baltimore and Cleveland. Give me Baltimore. Kansas City and Denver. Give me KC. And on Monday Night Football, who booked this one? Dallas versus the Raiders. It's not 1978. I don't know why they would put these two teams on Monday Night Football. But I will never pick the Cowboys to win anything. So give me the Raiders in this game, even though I don't believe it. But there you have Matty B's Week 11 picks. As Star Wars says, the Lions are winning, we being destroyed. So I think Star Wars thinks the 2023 parallel will continue with the decimation of the Eagles at the hands of the Lions. Interesting. We won't make the playoffs. Kyle, sorry. Star Wars, I don't think that's even possible. They are going to make the playoffs, and they're going to win the division. The NFC East is so bad. The only way, I guess the Cowboys still are in shouting distance, right? The only way is if the collapse does start against the Lions, and then it continues into next week against the Cowboys. Dallas is pretty much going to have to win out in order to win that division. So the odds are not in favor of the Cowboys. The odds are definitely in favor of the Eagles of winning the NFC East, ass backwards if possible. So, but we got a lot of football left to go. And then the Packers were better than us. No, they weren't. And that's where I'm going to side with the Eagles here. They were not. The Packer offense is vastly underrated, overrated. Yes, they were missing their entire starting wide receiver core and their tight end, but their quarterback is overrated. Jordan Love is overrated, and their head coach is extremely overrated. They were not better than us. Our offense was slightly better, slightly better than the Packers, and our defense was maybe at the same level as the Packers were. So no, not in this game. I disagree. I think the Eagles were the better team that night. That's not saying much. I'm not like, woo, no, it's not saying much at all. But there you go. Birds Blast in the books. Don't forget, we got you covered. Post-game Eagles-Lions right here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with the Birds Flyby. Mike Laro will be on to give you the breakdown of this football game once it goes 0-0 or 0-0 or quadruple zero. And then early in the morning on Sunday at 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock is the world debut of the Philly AM Sports Show featuring Big Al and Mike Laro here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network as we're rebranding the P&M and the AM program. Tonight, there will be no Gridiron Weekly. The boys had an emergency. They will not be able to go on the air tonight, so they will be back next week. So that means tonight, it's me and you at 9 o'clock. The final word with Matty B, as we will finish up our broadcast week at 9 p.m. here on the network. And this is the network schedule for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, I don't know if it's going to be me. It might be Mike. One of us will be there for the Flyers Blues. Penn State, Michigan State, and Flyers Stars on Saturday, and then our lineup on Sunday, the big day. So make sure you're hanging in around and checking us out because we have much to offer. Kansas City was clearly better than week 2. Listen, the week 2 game against the Chiefs, that might as well have happened about 1 million years ago. And yes, they were it was lucky. I don't care what you say. The Travis Kelce interception that, he turned around too late and the ball was already on him and it bounced off his hands and into Andrew Makuba's hands. That was Makuba's highlight of the season. And absolutely they were. Absolutely. And that's where the win is a win things come from. Star Wars is the first 8 games of the season. None of the games were good. The Eagles got lucky in some way or form or found some weird way to win. Block punts, block field goals, that gift interception, Miles Sanders fumbling down the goal line. You know what I mean? So there's not a game you can go back to in those first 8 and say, you know what? Yeah, that was a clean one, with maybe the exception of the second Giants game. And I have a hard time believing that game was not heavily influenced by the loss of Cam Scatterbo. Now the Giants were just like, we're done. We can't do this anymore. No one's looking out for us. Oh, woe is us. That's what I think happened in that game. I think the Giants quit, honestly. But we got a lot more football to go and a lot more things to talk about. So make sure you're joining us here on the network regularly. Check back for everything that's going on. I'll see you guys later tonight at 9 for the final word. Until then, take care.